everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to 2025. This is the first video I'll be doing this year, and unsurprisingly it is a December wrap-up. I read 12 books this month. One was technically a novella, but it was over 100 pages, so I'm definitely counting that towards my reading goal, which I did hit. My overall reads for 2024, my goal was for 100 books, and I managed to read, I think 122 was my final. I think 122 was how many I read. And again for this year, I'm aiming for 100. I always aim for 100, just because I like a nice round number. So hopefully I can hit it again this year, but I'm hoping to be a lot busier this year with holidays and stuff. That's my main goal for 2025, is to get out of this country as much as possible, because I only went on one trip last year. This has really gone onto a tangent already, but I only went on one trip last year. It was to Edinburgh, which I didn't do a vlog, but you did see bits of it. So I'd like to get out of the country like once every 2 months, I think would be nice, but we'll see how that goes and if my money can fund that. At the moment I don't think it can, but that's the goal. Anyway, the first book I read in December was actually a reread. I did reread 2 books this month. I audiobooked 2 books, and I did read quite a few on my Kindle, I can't lie, because I'm a Kindle girly. But yeah, so my first book was a reread. I reread A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the 3rd book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and I wanted to reread it to annotate it, because I've annotated the first 2 because they were out in paperback when I first read them. Annotate is being used loosely here. I literally just highlight things that I enjoyed reading. But I reread this. I gave it a 5-star. I tend to only annotate books that I either think will be a 5-star or are already a 5-star to me. So Emily Henry's books, I'm slowly working my way through to annotate. Harry Potter, I'm annotating. That's my all-time favourite series. Surprise to no one. Magnolia Parks I've annotated. Think if I've done any more. I have plans to annotate the Powerless trilogy. I haven't done that yet because I only read them recently, but this was a 5-star for me. I loved this. I forgot how much I enjoyed reading this. It's one of those series where it sort of like not leaves my mind, but I couldn't tell you the ins and outs of this series as confidently as I could some others, but overall this series is a 5-star to me. So that was book 1. Then I got festive and I read See You Next Winter by Holly June Smith. This is a kind of childhood friends to lovers, kind of friends with benefits sort of thing, where they only see each other once a year. It follows Kyla and Ryan, who their family's holiday in France, I believe it is. Every Christmas they have chalets next to each other and they go skiing together, and they were friends with benefits. Every Christmas they'd hook up, and that was nothing more, and this follows them turning it into something more. I really enjoyed this, and I actually can't remember what I gave it. I think it was a 4.25, which I might lower to just a flat out 4, because again, in the moment I really enjoyed it, but right now can't tell you how I felt, to be honest. But I think it's a 4. I do enjoy Holly June Smith's writing. This is sort of a series. I don't know if there'll be more to it because I don't know which other characters she could branch it off to, but the first book in this might actually be behind me somewhere up here, which was Can I Tell You Something? They are spicy, very spicy, which I do enjoy. So a 4.25 to this. I don't think I'm doing a very good job explaining these books, but oh well. The next book I read was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. As I mentioned, the Powerless trilogy, which this is like book 1.5 of that trilogy, is now one of my favourites of all time. Powerless is by far my favourite book I've read this year. I'm obsessed with them. So obviously I wanted to pick up this, which I listened to in audiobook form, which feels kind of pointless now because it's quite small. I could have just read this myself, but because I audiobooked Powerless, it felt right to do all of the series in audiobook form. So this is about Adina, which is Payden, the main character from Powerless's best friend, and basically what she gets up to whilst Payden is in the trials. And she meets Mac, and he wants to break into the palace And Adina's like, okay, let's do it. And it's okay. I don't know what I feel about this, because it is definitely being boosted by my opinion on Powerless, because I just want to love everything in this series. I think this is a 4.5 for me. The first chunk of it I found a bit slow. I didn't like the audiobook narrators, which was probably stopping me from enjoying it more. Mainly the guy that does the voice for Mac was not my favourite, because he did, like, in his point of view, we got obviously Adina's lines and he had to put on this very feminine voice. Not for me, that took me right out. But I love the story, I love Adina, she's so sweet, and the ending is heartbreaking. If you know, you know. So 4.5 for that. I'm I had a really good reading month this month, I think. So I then read Winter by Ali Smith. This is the second book in the seasonal quartet by her, and I can't remember a single thing about this book other than there's like a floating baby head, I think, which I still don't understand what that is. I don't understand why that's included. But this follows Art, who basically, I think him and his girlfriend are arguing or something, or they've broken up and she's being a complete bitch, to put it plainly. And so he hires someone to be his girlfriend over the Christmas period to go and hang out with his mum and his auntie at this massive house. And I found this really boring. I can't remember if I gave this a 3 at the time, but I'm definitely lowering it to a 2. I really enjoyed Autumn, which is the first of the quartet. I gave that a 4-star. I thought it was really nice, really beautiful and poignant. This was not for me. This was not for me, which does not put me in good stead for the rest of the quartet, because now I'm very split on whether it was a one-time thing, me enjoying Ali Smith's books. But I guess we'll find out. So this, I just think it wasn't written for my brain specifically. I found it very hard to want to pick up and read this. But I did. I enjoy the floppiness of the book, that is something, and I have fond memories of buying this. I bought it in the airport on my way home from Edinburgh, so that's that. Then I read another festive book. I did a whole video reading festive books. That is why they're all in one clump in the middle of this. I read The Nightmare Before Christmas by Sarah Rask, I think is how we would say that name. This follows Cole, the Prince of Christmas, and Hex, the Prince of Halloween. They are obviously from rival holidays, and in this book every holiday is like its own town kind of thing. And like, for example, in the Christmas town, Santa is like the title of the king. It's not an actual person's name. So like Cole's dad is Santa at the time. This I really enjoyed. This was adorable. It is obviously an LGBT novel. Enjoyed, love that. I need to expand my reading of LGBT books, because I'm bi, so you'd think I would read a bit more of that. I have got quite a few sapphic romances that I want to read soon, so we'll see if I hit that goal. But this book, the premise is that Easter and Christmas want to join forces, and to do that they're going to marry off the Princess of Easter to the Prince of Christmas, which is Cole. He's a bit of a troublemaker, so this is Santa's way of tying him down, basically making him be as respectable as possible in the eyes of the town. And then Halloween gets wind of this and thinks that's not fair. I think there should be a choice, and we're going to put the Prince of Halloween up to this as well, which is where Hex comes in, and then they fall in love. It is so cute. I really enjoyed it. I've heard some people say that the politics involved in this took them out of the story a bit, but I really enjoyed it. The more politics a book has, the less likely I am to enjoy and understand it, but this, I got on board with this very quickly. So I give this a 5-star. I stand by that. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I cannot wait for the next book to come out. I can't remember when it comes out. I want to say it's March, because that's to do with St. Patrick's Day, which I think is in March. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's March. Yes, I really enjoyed this. I recommend it if you want to read something like this. If you're still feeling festive, this is the one. Then I read The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter, I think. Ali Carter. This is an Agatha Christie-esque mystery, I guess is how we'd put it, following two writers, Maggie and Ethan, and they both get invited to this really big mystery author's house anonymously for Christmas. And they go there, and I don't know what it says on the back. Can I say these things? Oh yeah, okay, so the lady that invites them to the house suddenly disappears, and then the whole book follows them trying to figure out what's happened to her. It's very Knives Out in the terms of, well, all of these people were in the house, so they're clearly the suspects. And I think it was really clever. The romance for me let this down, and the mystery brought it back up, I think, to even it out. So I gave this a 4-star. I really enjoyed this. I'm tempted to go back and read, I think it's The Blonde Identities. I think it's the other Ali Carter book that's out. But I did really enjoy this. And it made me want to rewatch Knives Out. So next up, I read The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. This is book 3 in the Dream Harbour series. And I would say, although this book was nothing special for me personally, I think it is kind of what the author is going for. It is just a cozy, comfortable read. Like, you know what you're getting from this book. It is very similar, I'd say, to the first two in the series, but I would say I probably enjoyed this one the least. But I think that could be because I read it so close to the Cinnamon Bun bookstore, because that was fresh in my mind, and that book was like a 4.5 for me. So that being fresh in my mind and how well that was done compared to this, I think lowered this for me. So we'll see if when the next book is released I feel the same, that it's repetitive and a bit mundane, or if it is the case I just read this one too quickly after the second book. So for me, this is a 3-star. This follows Kyra, still don't know how to say it, who isn't a big fan of Christmas. She has a bit of a freak out when her twin sister leaves the country with her boyfriend, and she ends up buying a Christmas tree farm kind of by accident. And Ben, I think is the guy's name, Bennett, is new to the town. His sister is a local there. He's come to visit her, and because he's fresh meat essentially, he keeps being sent up to Kira's house to try and get her to bond with the town and to look to see if the previous owner buried his wife there. So that's something. It was okay. It was cute. I did enjoy it, but I didn't find myself wanting to read this. It was very much just a I need to get this finished kind of thing. Then on the flip side, I had a complete surprise, I guess, with All I Want Is You by Fallon Ballard. This is a second chance romance, professional rivals, forced proximity, there's only one bed. So good. I really enjoy this. I'm not one for second chance romances because you have to work hard to make me believe that they should be back together if they've already broken up once. So I think this did it really well. I don't read many second chance romances, so I don't have that many to compare it to, but for me this was done extremely well. I thought the plot was actually, like, other than the romance, the plot was really, really good. Obviously the romance was good too, but on its own the plot stood as well. They are both writers. They are obviously rival writers, and they're basically told, well, you're stuck here, so write a book together. And I just thought it was so sweet. I love this. It is short, but it did the trick. I loved this. This was a 4.5 for me. Then I had my second reread of the month, which was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This is actually not the copy that I read. I have been annotating the Harry Potter books for my best friend very slowly. I do about 2 a year for her, one for Christmas, one for her birthday, and this was her Christmas one. I obviously love Harry Potter, as I've mentioned previously, so no surprise this was a 5-star. And I just want to subtly brag here. This is 766 pages long. Tell me how I read that in 3 days. 3 days. I don't know how I did that. I think I blacked out and just this was all I did all day, because I don't know how I managed that. This is huge. This is massive. But for those who don't know, this is book 5 in the Harry Potter series. Obviously, it is wizardry at school. It is really fun, really cool. This is kind of the first book, I'd say, where shit has sort of hit the fan. And I won't say any more than that. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I will assume if you haven't read Harry Potter by this point, you probably don't want to. But I implore you, please pick it up. I would say book 3 onwards is incredible. Saying that, book 2 is kind of my favourite, but there's mixed opinions on book 2, so I recommend it. If you haven't read it, please give it a go, basically. Then I read a book I've been putting off since January because it is big and final. It's how I'll introduce this one. I read Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, which is the last book in Magnolia Parks and BJ Valentine's point of view. This is by Jessa Hastings. She is incredible at writing. This is lyrical. This was stunning. I can't really say much because it is the 3rd and final in this specific set of the series. But again, if you haven't read Magnolia Parks, I don't call it a romance. It's not a romance in my opinion. But it is definitely a character study on some extremely toxic London socialites. It gets compared to Gossip Girl. I've not seen Gossip Girl, so I can't confirm, but if loads of people are saying it, I'll assume that's true. I love this. It made me sob. It was adorable and crushing in every possible sense, and I gave it a 5-star. I did annotate this one actually, which is why it's so floppy. I've absolutely killed the spine of this book. I think this is far away that you can't see, but there you go. I've annotated it. Again, sort of just highlighting things I like is how I annotate my books. This I knew was going to be incredible going into it. I've loved every single book by Jessa Hastings, apart from Never, which we're not going to talk about that. That's a blip. This is a 5-star for me. And then very surprisingly, I managed to fit in another book in 2 days. I started reading this last book on the 29th and I finished it on, I think I did finish it on the 31st, which is Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the 2nd full book in the Powerless trilogy. You have heard me talk about that already this video, so I'll just go in and say this. I did not know what to expect for this. I've heard people say they were disappointed with it. It didn't go up to their standards that they'd already set for themselves going into this. I loved it. It was incredible. I get the first bit is a little bit slower than the whole of Powerless was. Like, Powerless was on a crack or something. It was incredible the whole time. This, I get, is a bit slower, but once you get like maybe 5 chapters in, it picks up and it is incredible. So again, if you haven't read Powerless, I can't imagine someone watching my video and not having seen Powerless, because all of the big book girlies have recommended it at this point. Please read it. Incredible. I loved this. It ended really, really intriguingly. I cannot wait for April to get the last book. I need it now. I think I did forget to talk about one book, which I read, I think 3rd in this stack, which is One More Gift, I think, by Holly June Smith. It's just a short novella to do with a divorcing couple getting it on with the ex-wife's new boyfriend. It was really weird. It was fine. I'm giving it a 3-star. I won't read it again. It was fine. It was okay. If you want to read a very smutty Christmas book that's like 140 pages long, be my guest. But that brings me to the end of this video. I am really proud of myself with this year in terms of reading, and especially starting this channel. Thank you to everyone that has been watching. This has already done way better than I was expecting, and I haven't even hit 50 subscribers yet, I don't think. So, but I really appreciate everyone who watches these videos, and I can't wait to see where this goes next year, in the next year, I guess. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.